Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of RE/MAX Associated Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com.
It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Welcome to Mental Health Matters. You know what? It really does. Mental health influences your thinking, your decision-making, your behavior, and even your physical health. Mental well-being might be the most important part of your life, and you need to ensure it. And we're going to talk about that here today. I'm Lisa Reimer, the host of Mental Health Matters, and a communications officer with New Horizons of the Treasure Coast in Okeechobee. We are the largest mental health and addiction recovery provider in a 4-county region. We have inpatient and outpatient programs. We serve Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee counties. We serve 15,000 children and adults annually, regardless of their ability to pay. We have a wide range of outpatient programs that you can check out online at www.nhtcinc.org. That's New Horizons Treasure Coast Inc. .org. And we also have inpatient programs such as a 28-day drug and alcohol rehab, a detox program, a children's crisis stabilization unit, an adult crisis stabilization unit, and an adult group home. Again, you can check us out online. If you have a crisis situation that you need to talk to someone immediately, we have a 24-hour helpline and a mobile response team where for no cost, no time limits, we will send someone to wherever you are or the person in need is, and we can provide help immediately. That number is 772-468-3909. And if you can't remember all that, just call 211. We work directly with 211 to get help where it's needed now. So today's mental health matter is actually going to be the arts. And we're here in the studio with Michael Naffziger of the Indian River Charter High School VAPA program. He is the artistic director. What does VAPA stand for?
Visual and Performing Arts.
Okay. And of course, our co-host, Katie Love. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
And she will be bringing us Teenage Confidential later in the show. So to begin with, tell us a little bit about what's going on at the VAPA program at Charter.
Great. So my name is Michael Neff. First of all, before I do that, I didn't realize that your program and your organization was that big and serviced that many people. That's absolutely amazing.
I know we are like the best kept secret on the Treasure Coast, and it's not. That's why we have this show, because it shouldn't be a secret how to get mental health. And, you know, we interview, just on this show, we interview not just New Horizons people. We interview private practice, other agencies, because the demand is so great. There's no one agency, no one office that could handle the demand on 4 counties' mental health needs.
And the amount of people you can service is outstanding. I mean, that's a huge amount of people. That's awesome. That's great to know.
We can talk more.
Okay.
I'll fill in the gaps with some information. So.
Great. So this is my first year as the artistic director at Indian River Charter High School. I took the position over after Dr. Ray Adams retired. And the story of me taking the position kind of revolves around mental health. I've been the theater director for 11 years, and I had absolutely zero interest in being the artistic director. And when Dr. Adams talked about retiring, we were having a conversation outside of the classroom, actually in the Charter Dome where we perform our big shows. And he said, it's time. And I said, how do you know it's time? He says, you know it's time when it's time to retire. You just know. But then he also said something that stuck with me. And then he said, and the kids have changed. And I walked away from that conversation, and over the next month or so, that statement kind of resonated and more ideas came out of that. And I realized that our school, what it was 5 years or even before the pandemic and what it's become is a very different thing. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, it's still an amazing place. But the kids pulling into their technology and then, COVID shoving this wedge even further apart from us as human beings connected with each other. Mm-hmm. The dynamic and the mental status of all of the kids on campus have shifted a little bit. And then all of a sudden I realized, I think this is my opportunity to try to bring back the connection, the kindness that we used to have on our campus. And that's one of the main reasons that I took the position of artistic director.
So nationally, since COVID, so it used to be 1 in 4 Americans were dealing with mental health issues. It's now 2 in 5. So 1 in 5 to 2 in 5, that's double. So it went from 20% to 40% of Americans are dealing with mental health issues. And that's, because of financial uncertainties and isolation and lack of connectivity, which is actually the opposite of what addiction is. When you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, you isolate from social intimacy, right? Social intimacy. We're not talking about, physical necessarily. But then, so what's the opposite of that? Connectivity. So you're right on with that.
Yeah. And thinking back when I got into the arts as a kid, I played instruments and tried other things, but I remember having anxiety and I remember struggling with that. And I remember the only time, and I think it's because you are forced to be present as an actor. That was the first time I was on stage, was the first time all of my anxiety went away. And I remember I was in one of my first shows, and when I went off stage, my mother asked me, why do you do this? Why do you enjoy it? And I said, because I feel truly like myself, and I'm the happiest when I'm in that situation. And I'm realizing with a lot of our kids on our campus that do have anxiety or do have depression or do just have struggle expressing themselves, that playing the trumpet or dancing or acting or writing or building sets or whatever it might be is such a great outlet for them. And I see that transition in them when they are on stage or they are turning in their paper or they are, hanging lights or whatever it might be. And I think the more as the artistic director, I can give opportunities for the kids on our campus to have those outlets, then I'm truly doing the best I can in my job.
So that's one of the reasons why we asked Katie to come co-host this show, because I think that the younger voice needs to be heard. This has been a very difficult time with COVID. And you've talked about what you're seeing, what are you seeing this week?
Well, within mental health, it's crazy. And for me, lately I've been struggling with body image, and I was talking with a couple of my friends about how much it affected them. And we were discussing, and we were like, since COVID, it's like we had nothing to do and we couldn't leave, and it felt like we were stuck in our own home. So it just felt like nothing was getting done, and it just kind of weighed not only on my mental health, but my physical health as well. And we were like, it felt like we were falling out of this, in Florida, you have to have the beach body, you have to be able to look good when you're in a bikini or something. And we were talking about how much it hurt to even leave the house after COVID because we felt scared for this new image to be put out. And it was just a really scary experience, especially when you're already worried about being judged as a teenager. And it felt like COVID added that extra stress to it. You can't blame everything on COVID, but it's still it opened a doorway that I felt could have so easily been avoided had it never been there. Yeah, that's a
real topic of conversation right now with social media. I think about this, growing up with social media and the importance of photographs. We didn't have that. And actually this time of year, so if you're in the north, just like you said, this throughout Florida is always summer, so it's always bikini weather. But up north, this time of year, everyone's starting to hibernate. It's the beginning of the hibernation season. There are actual festivals, the Michael Festival, when you start going inward to slay the dragon, the demons of our inside, because it's an interior time. The leaves fall off the trees, the squirrels and the bears all go hide for the winter, So this is a natural time when people put on extra pounds, they're not all out there. And then in the spring, you start emerging, and a lot of our circadian rhythms are even attuned to that seasonal change, but it doesn't happen here in Florida. It's like we're always on, I can imagine that being very difficult for a teenager.
Yeah, it's especially, like I said, especially when everyone sees what you're doing all the time on social media. So they're able to kind of see that change. And it's so easy to just make a quick judgment based off everything that you've seen through there, because everyone's constantly sharing all of these really important aspects of their life that you never would have shown anyone the bad sides, because you don't want anyone to see that. So it just becomes a lot. It's a lot easier to judge people through that, which definitely affects a lot of mental health. And it affects, social media has definitely put a great weight on teenagers' mental health because it means so much to them to get approval from others through the internet.
Wow. So we were going to talk about the show, but I think maybe we should do that in the next segment. And we just keep going here.
Sure.
So as now a leader at the school, I mean, you've always been, but as in that position, how are you handling like the impact of social media on these kids?
So that's a great question. And we're, as the administration, we're looking and doing a lot of research into ways to get kids to separate from their technologies. It was a struggle before the pandemic, and now with the pandemic, everybody was forced into technology. We were teaching the kids over computers. It's even more of a challenge. And so looking at it from an outside perspective, we're looking at different ways of separating them and other alternatives to make them connect to each other. But in the world of the performing arts, it's such an opposite of that in your phone, in your computer. And we've seen it in the performances. I've seen it in the actors. I've seen it in some of the musicians where they're still pulled in. And I think it's just a constant reminder of how wonderful it is to look somebody in the eye when you're speaking to them or to perform live or anything like that. But when it comes to dealing with the social media and what it causes people, I'm constantly doing my best to give people, especially in this situation, a good body image. In musical theater, I talk to all the kids about how you have to be in fantastic shape to do musical theater. But that shape doesn't mean you can be any shape and size. You just have to be in good physical condition to be able to run and sing and dance and stuff and all the time. And even today I was teaching a class and I just kept reminding them, whatever you look like, whatever your size, your shape, you're beautiful the way you are, and you need to accept yourself for that. So those messages, it's a battle between the people like Katie and myself that are trying to put that out there, but at the same time, then the kids are going into their room at nights and looking at their phones and getting this feedback on you don't look right, or this is not, that's the wrong shape or the wrong size or the wrong fashion or whatever it might be. But it's a huge shell, and we're working on, but haven't truly figured out how to crack that nut yet.
So we're going to take a short break, hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation about how the arts can help kids and with self-acceptance, with mental health issues, and get off those screens and connect with others. Your mental health influences how you think, feel, and behave on a daily basis. Your mental health also affects your ability to deal with stress, overcome challenges, build relationships, and recover from life's setbacks and challenges. Whether you're facing a hardship, experiencing some kind of emotional turmoil, or simply looking to feel more positive and energetic, here are some ways to take control of your mental health today. Connect face-to-face with supportive people. Get moving with exercise in fun ways. Explore different techniques for managing stress. Fill your diet with omega-3 fats. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, and invest in activities that give your life meaning and purpose. New Horizons can support you on your mental health journey as well as recovery from substance abuse. Learn how by calling 772-468-5600 or visit newhorizonstreasurecoastinc.org.
This is iHeartMedia's Treasure Coast Connection.
The Treasure Coast Connection is brought to you by New Vision Eye Center.
Hi, I'm Debbie Butler with Guardians for New Futures, President of the Board of Directors. We are pleased to announce the creation of a Child Advocacy Center to serve abused and neglected children from St. Lucie, Martin, Indian River, and Okeechobee counties. The center will provide all needed resources for a maltreated child in one location where they only have to tell their story one time. Everything from the physical exam and mental health resources and more will be provided via this multidisciplinary team approach. Agencies involved in the welfare of a child will be relocated, bringing resources to the child rather than the current system.
Call New Vision Eye Center for a consultation or second opinion. Your eyesight deserves world-class eye care. Visit newvisioneyecenter.com or call 772-257-8700.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. If you're just now joining us, I'm in the studio with Michael Naffziger, who's the artistic director at Indian River Charter High School, and Miss Katie Love, who is our co-host on Mental Health Matters. You can watch the first part of the show. We put those up on our Facebook page, New Horizons, the Treasure Coast in Okeechobee. So we were talking about a positive body image and the kids dealing with social media and some of the things that the school is trying to help. So you're saying that you accept yourself. You accept yourself at any size. And actually confidence is the most beautiful feature on a person, really. Like no matter how big, small, tall, short, confidence just sort of overwhelms what you perceive in someone else.
It does, absolutely. In the acting program, we have something that's known as the Actor's Creed. Do you know it, Katie? It's been a while since you've had to do it.
Yeah, I think I remember like the first half. There's like one part in the middle that I always forget.
So it goes, I am an evolving actor. I'm in a sacred, safe, and supportive space. In this space, I will challenge myself, study humanity, and take risks. And there's more to it. I won't read the whole thing, but it's all about that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to love yourself for who you are. And all of the arts, I believe, force you to be immediately present, right? When you're playing the saxophone, it's you and the music and your instrument. When you're dancing, it's the music and the floor and your body that's doing it. When you're acting, it's your lines and it's your character. When, Katie's a huge part of the technical theater program. So when she runs soundboards for the big musicals and stuff, she's there. The phone's not a part of it. She's talking to her assistant and she's watching the stage and she's engaging with everything going on. And during a production, when I can walk around, be it a choir concert or be it a dance concert or be it a theater production, and I'm able to walk around the space and there's not a phone in sight and the kids are looking at each other and looking at the audience and looking at their music, and it gives you hope as a human being to see those little bursts of that. And those are going to become more and more common as we move forward over the next few years.
I was just thinking, actually, what I said about, confidence being such a beautiful thing. No, it's not. It's vulnerability, like being okay enough to be your true self, even if you're really insecure.
Right.
Because confidence can be actually atrocious if you're belligerent and, arrogant and full of yourself. Like that can be very unattractive.
Right.
So actually just being authentic is a very beautiful quality. And it would be wonderful if we could all just, embrace our own authenticity. But the world is tough, So I don't know how you teach kids, how to be authentically real.
It takes me, so my first Acting 1 class it's not an acting class. It's a learn to love yourself and be honest with yourself class. The first 3 months of class, we just embarrass ourselves collectively as a group so much. And Katie can attest to this, that by the time those 3 months are over, you no longer care in the sense about what other people think of you. Not as much, right? The inhibition is the killer of all things theatrical. The inhibition that you hide behind is what stops you from being an actor. And so the line in the creed, to understand a character, I must understand myself. Understanding yourself at this age, at our age, is an ongoing battle. And that's what we do in that acting program, is we strip down all those inhibitions. Every kid that came through the theater program, that's a part of it. But I think that needs to grow larger now. I think that needs to become part of the whole VAPA program. As you said, being vulnerable, being willing to expose yourself as an artist and also as a human being is what allows you to grow and to create self-love.
Yeah, and then we have our families.
Right.
So you do all of this and you go home and, we're talking about body image, but, people of all ages deal with that, in the workplace, and I mean, I'm, well over teenage years. And, I'm concerned. I don't want to put my worst pictures up on social media, you want to look your best. And what is your best? It's we have these standards. I mean, I look through the magazines and watch the same movies and the television. We've all sort of been herded into this more narrow corral.
I mean, yeah, it's funny. Sometimes it's not even like what your body looks like. It's what you wear. Like I'll see a lot of bigger people be made fun of for wearing shorts because they're bigger, and being told that they shouldn't wear that because it's not meant for people like that. And it's like it's so not necessary. It doesn't matter, you know?
So even with the media, I mean, we know that those are like the wrong things to say. You know, we have movies and television series about those, but do kids still say those things?
Honestly, not really. It's a lot of older generations who tend to comment things like that I've realized. I mean, I see some things through online about people sharing their stories about stuff that they've experienced, and about how older women tend to kind of make fun of younger women sometimes for the way that they dress. And I mean, like, I've only kind of seen it in women because I haven't reached out, but I'm sure men see the same thing as well. I mean, it has to come with what you wear and what you look like and how you act. And that's like just under a constant magnifying glass of, you know, being questioned of who you are and how you look and how you present yourself is just like a constant weight on your mind. And just it stresses everyone out, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it used to be as much like that before social media. I mean, I grew up, you know, and it was like the end of the 60s into the 70s. And, you know, it just there wasn't as much emphasis on what you wore and what you had. And maybe different parts of the country. I don't know. I don't know how kids are making it through these days.
Yeah, it's tough, but I just want to say this, that there's the kids that are introspective and reflect on this thing, like Katie, and there's a bunch of them on our campus that I come into contact with. They carry, because they take the time to reflect on these things, they carry that confidence about themselves. Of course, there's insecurities, those happen all the time, but also too, I see kids in the hall and I talk to kids and I experience kids all the time that I know they have insecurities, but that they're fighting the fight to be more like themselves gives me hope, and I hope it gives them hope in themselves as well. There's something so powerful about a kid that knows their insecurities and fights through them and talks to them and tries the arts and tries whatever they can to overcome. As an educator, that's what inspires me. That's what makes me go to work every day, is when I see people like Katie or students like Katie that push through and push through their anxieties and push through their worries to do what is important to them. I mean, she's a writer. She's a great human being. She works really hard in the technical theater program. She does great in her classes. And even though there's insecurities, her ability to push beyond those is inspirational to me as a teacher and as a human being.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you also, you know, my son graduated from charter high school, and you were a very, very important part of his high school years. I think that he, you know, was looking for exactly who he was, and being part of the theater program allowed him to blossom and to be okay with, you know, being completely Devin Reimer.
Right, yeah, sure.
You know, and I just really applaud you for doing that for my son, you know.
Of course. I remember Devin used to come and watch rehearsals before he was even in the theater program. And he told me after one of the rehearsals, he says, I'm going to do that next year. And I said, all right, Devin, we'll see. And he went full in, didn't he? He jumped in everything feet first. And I agree. I watched him change. And it was an amazing dynamic process to watch his evolution.
So if someone is interested in attending charter high school, what's the process of doing that?
So what they need to do is
It's a public school.
It is a public school. We're a school of choice, so they have to fill out an application and come to an orientation. They have to get a letter of recommendation and write a short essay. It's not a extremely difficult process to get in, but it is worth it, the little bit of things you need to jump through to get there. It's a great place for kids like Katie.
And if you didn't get in the beginning of the school year, they actually do another enrollment for January, correct?
Correct.
So you can go online. Do you know the website?
irchs.org, and that tells you all the information about that.
Okay, and also then they have the VAPA program.
Correct.
So, and they can enroll in that as well?
Correct. So we have what's known as VAPA Day, where kids coming into our school get a chance to come in and perform for all the different departments, and then we can place them in their classes according to that. Okay. So if they've been playing piano for 9 years, they're not going to go into instrument 1. They're going to go into a more advanced class. We accept everybody depending on level, but that's where we end up putting them, is depending on how much experience they have.
Michael, thank you so much for being here. And Katie, as always, we really appreciate your input. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.